Welcome to this week's edition of From the Trainers Tower. Group 1 racing back to Flemington for the Australian Cup. Undercard, thoroughbred breeders stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. And we have a treat for you this morning. Now, as much as I love Ed Sadler, he did call in sick. And we've had a little bit of an upgrade. The great Matt Hill joins us.
Good to see you,
great to have you here, mate.
Great to be here. And as you mentioned, the Australian Cup, an iconic race that you think back to the Bone Crusher at Talac Clash in '87 and the Lonhro and octagonal races, Northerly, of course. It's such a great race, the Australian Cup. And it's great to hear the trainers because you just have to listen carefully just for those clues, don't you? And we've got plenty of them to talk today.
I know a couple of the trainers who've told me they love tuning into this show to hear what the other stables have to say as well. So very, very interesting. First off, let's rip into the Australian Cup as well. Now, Sabaj comes out of an all-star mile run into the Australian Cup this week. Our little man, before he was sick, Ed Sadler, caught up with Mick Kent Jr yesterday.
Michael, looking ahead to the weekend, Sabaj, 2,000 metres. How do you think he'll get on at that trip?
Obviously, we're hopeful, but it'll be a proper test. Anytime Jenni's there, it's going to be, foot to the floor early. And I see the forecasters saying up to 40 mils of rain on Friday, so we'll definitely know if he gets 2,000 strongly.
In saying that, I remember vividly him winning on final day of the carnival where it was awful weather. The wet track didn't seem to worry him that day.
Exactly right. We were very nervous because we thought he should go and win, and he was short favourite, and we took a punt and he got through it beautifully. So that's no problem, but I suppose just, if you're a good mile type, it's just going to make it more of a stamina test, isn't it? So, not concerned. The horse is great. Ed, very happy with him. I'm looking forward to it. I think he's prepped up really well, He's only a young, developing horse still. He's a big baby. Only had 11 starts. So to be beaten 0.7 lengths in an all-star mile last time running on, he's giving us all the signs that he's in career best form. He'll have to be to win. And, we think he'll get 2,000. Obviously, it's in the best company, so it's going to be hard. But, it'd be no surprise to see him run very well.
So in that sense, he's still a horse on the up?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, if you imagine him in 12 months' time, he'd be a lot stronger and maybe he could win an all-star mile. So that's the sort of horse we think he is. That was his first go at weight for age. He's a beautiful big frame, but he's still quite hollow. So, he's just strengthening all the time, this horse. So, he's one to be that we could probably be ambitious with in the spring.
So 2,000 metres, is this a test for what options you could go with going forward for him?
It is for sure. But it was, what do we aim at in the autumn? It was the Doncaster or this race, and well, he's not in the Doncaster, and we would have had to put another run into him, and he likes his races spaced. So 3 weeks from the All-Star, the Oz Cup's beautiful, and in our backyard on a big track at Flemington, weight for age, the Doncaster is such a hard race to win. We saw when we went to the Ingham as second favourite there, we drew barrier 18 and we may as well not turned up. So at least at Flemington in a weight for age race, barriers won't be so important and we should get every chance.
Is this it for the autumn for him?
I wouldn't say that just yet, but that would be the favourite. We ran deep into December with this horse in the Ingham. He only had 3 weeks out and, as I mentioned before, he's just going to really appreciate time. So if we could get a good break into him now, that would really set him up for the Spring Carnival.
Very interesting horse, Sabaj, heading towards an Australian Cup. By the sound of it, the mile is really his sweet spot, but so tempting after that run in the All-Star Mile where he finished next to Pride of Jenni, who's going to set the race up again. So very interesting words there from Mick Kent Jr.
Yeah, he likes the media a little bit more than his dad too, doesn't he?
He does a little bit, which is fantastic. He's a part of that young brethren of horse trainers who are great ambassadors for the game.
He's fantastic. Speaking of young people great for the game, Lachie Neindorf here riding in Vic will be looking for his first Group 1 in Victoria on board Mark Twain. Let's hear what he has to say about that galloper heading into the Australian Cup.
Lachie, looking ahead to the weekend, Mark Twain, what sort of feel did he give you first up? It was certainly an eye-catching run.
Oh, he's going super, Ed. He's just feels phenomenal, the horse. I think he's found a bit of a new lease of life, so to speak. We just wanted him to get back, relax. He is a horse that can tend to overdo it in his races previously. So the main thing was getting in a nice rhythm. But when he straightened up, he had a lot of ground to make up. And when I brought him to the outside, he let rip through his gears very nice.
Did that surprise you, that performance? Because he had been off the scene for quite a while. So did you go in with an open mind that day and have your expectations exceeded?
Look, I'd like to say he didn't really surprise us because his work at home was just phenomenal. Like I said, he found a new lease of life and he's just such a happy horse and his work had been so sharp. So I was confident if he was going to go to the races and relax the first half of the race that he would be finishing off. If you were to say to me before the race he'd finished top 3, I'd be surprised. I would have been happy running home into 5th or something. I'd say he'd run enormous. So he surprised us but didn't at the same time.
Looking at the Australian Cup on Saturday, 2,000 metres, and with Pride of Jenni in the race, looks like it'll be a genuine 2,000 metres. How do you think he'll get on?
I think he'll get on really well. I really like what the stable have done in filling the team, the way they've gone about him this prep. I think keeping him on the fresh side, he seems to appreciate. And if he can show that turn of foot over 2,000 that he done over a mile first up, I think he'll be letting rip home. We know what Pride of Jenni's like, and I've never raced against her, so it'll be an experience as a jockey riding against her. But look, I think he's right up to it. I saw he's about 20 to 1 in the market. I think that's about right, but I wouldn't surprise if he runs a very big race.
And if he was to cause some sort of an upset, it'd be nice to get that Group 1 win for yourself, but also in partnership with Philip Stokes because he's been so important for your career. Yeah,
well, my first 2 obviously have been for Philip and such a crucial part of my career, Phil, and the whole team at Philip Stokes. So I've really enjoyed my time over here so far, and like I've sort of said a couple of times, that elusive Group 1 over here still daunts me. So I'm still very early on. It's for my first season over here, but to knock it off early would be sensational.
He's a confident young man. He's a very well-presented young man. And, of course, apprentice Logan Bates got that Group 1 with Jigsaw on the weekend. They're all pushing each other, the new Rat Pack of 2026. And interesting, we know that Pride of Jenni rattles the cage, especially for the form gurus, because the races are just so different. And it's an interesting point that Lachie made, that he's never ridden against her.
Yeah, it is. You think a lot of these riders probably ride against her regularly, the top riders, but Lachie, first opportunity to go against her. And as we know, she's one of 2 Ciaron Maher runners in the Australian Cup on the weekend. We hear from Jack Turnbull on the 2 of them.
Jack, big weekend coming up, as it always is for the Maher stable. Pride of Jenni, the Australian Cup. She's gone close in the race before. Can she win it this time?
Like to think so, Ed. Yeah, she returned massive, ran a nice figure, career peak for her first up, and she's come through it really well. So she had a strong gallop last week away, and then today we hit her here at Cranbourne, earmuffs on. Nice little bit of work, and she wanted to do a lot more than what we needed her to do, which was good. That's when she's up and about, and she'll go to the beach tomorrow and have a quiet week, or quite a few days into Saturday.
So you look at her record in this race, second in a couple of years ago, just run down in the final stages. Look, gone a long way from home in the race last year. What's the trick to getting the right Jenni on Saturday?
Well, it's up to her, but Saturday when she ran first up 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, she couldn't have gone any quicker. I think she ran a second faster than any mile race she ever has. It's hard to maintain that, and she stuck it out to the line. So the key is for her to be in front rolling along. As everyone knows, it's going to be very much a matter of what's in the race as to who wants to go with her. She's obviously going to do one thing, and everyone knows that. So she's really well physically, that's the main thing. But if she breaks, rips and tears and does her thing, then good luck trying to catch her. But if they want to go with her and they're going to bring the field up, then it's obviously a different story.
And a lot of her racing over the last 12 months has been predominantly over a mile, but 2,000 metres Saturday. How do you see that for her?
Fitness isn't a problem, and she had a long break off the back of last prep. So if you're ever going to do it, it's early in her preparation, because the more runs she has, the more she taxes herself because she puts more in. So this is the best time to do it. Hopefully we don't get too much rain during the week. There's a little bit forecast, but she's very much a fast ground animal and prefers to be on top of the ground. So we're happy and confident that she's going to be there in the best shape. It's just how the race shape works out for her.
Light infantry man, could he defend his title?
He could, yeah. He's one that wants rain. So best of both worlds there. But he will also be in the old BMW, the Tancred up in Sydney, which is 2,400. 2 weeks between. So he worked this morning as well. Very happy with him. He doesn't take a lot of work. So we're very much going to see how the races shape up come Wednesday morning, 8:30, when we take acceptances, and then he can either get on the bus to go up north or we'll keep him down south.
Is he better over 2,000 or 24?
It's a very good question. I think now as a mature horse, he'll be a better racehorse at 1.5 miles because he can control and be out in front. I thought his last start was very good, given how he was ridden. Harry was on him for the first time, and he said if he had his time again, he probably would have got going a little bit earlier. Because similar to Jenni, and I'm not comparing them, but they have their cruising speed and they don't quicken much from that. So we saw that first up over 1 mile. He stuck it out, got there on the line, and if he can do that over 2,000 timed well and then again over 24, he's going to be one of those high-pressure horses.
Welcome back to From the Trainers Tower. Time now to turn our attention to the Group 2 Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. And Grahame Begg, well, he's got some good horses around the country, no question about that, but he's got one of the favourites on Saturday in Jadzia.
Grahame Jadzia runs on Saturday. What did you make of her first up performance?
Oh, look, she ran very well. First run up the straight, so that was new to her. Ran to a very good horse in Medicinal, so hopefully she's not there Saturday. But look, she hit the line very, very well, and I feel that she's certainly come on for the run.
She hasn't had the smoothest of preparations, but since getting out of the races, has things gone more to plan then?
Absolutely, and as I said, I think she's really come on since she's had that run. She's doing better in the stable, and work's been very sharp. So it's really taking her to a new level, just getting the run under her belt. Of course, she had a bit of a rocky road to her first couple of starts. She was going to go to the races and she had to be scratched. But anyway, now that she's had a race, and she certainly put her hand up to suggest that she needs to go again.
Is it fair to say she's a filly you've always liked, Grahame?
She's always been very natural, showing us nice ability from day one. As soon as we started to do a little bit with her, she put her hand up straight away, and looking forward to her running Saturday. Obviously, she's had the experience up the straight now, so that'll hold her in good stead.
Well, Lagunanini is another 2-year-old filly trying to win the same race, and Ed Sadler caught up with Trent Busuttin.
Trent Lagunanini runs on Saturday. What happened in the showdown?
Well, I think the track happened in the showdown. We drew barrier 1 and couldn't be happier, and by race 3 and 4 you knew if you were drawn inside, the inside was quicksand, so it was a bit frustrating, but she's come through it well, and she's been nominated for Adelaide, the stakes race in Adelaide, and also the race down the straight on Saturday. So we'll have a look at the fields and work out which way we go.
Okay, what would sway you one way or the other?
Probably the easiest. I'd suggest naturally you'd think Adelaide might be a bit softer, but I think she's up to stakes level, and like I said, you just put a line through last start.
And if you take out that last start and put a line through it, first up win was very good?
Yeah, good. We genuinely like her. We think she's up to that level. That's why it was frustrating, but that's the way it goes, and we'll move on.
Okay, so you've been happy with it since Caulfield?
Yeah, she hasn't done much. She'll have a gallop back tomorrow, and as long as she gallops up, we'll carry on.
Akora runs in the Tulloch. He's been going well this prep, Trent.
Yeah, good. We just thought we'd dodge the guns and the Rosehill Guineas and go the Tulloch. We'll throw in a cheeky nom for the BMW, but he'll definitely run Saturday, and then 1 week turnaround into the Derby.
Is he a better horse than the Spring?
Oh, look, he was very unlucky all the way through in the spring. His form was terrible, but he was going good. He should have won the Geelong Derby trial, so we went there thinking he was a chance, and I think he got beat a quarter of a length by Observer, so I don't think he needs to improve, but he's certainly going well. I mean, he beat the older horses last start, so I think he'd be tough to beat in the Tulloch on Saturday.
Interesting thoughts regarding Lagunanini. Very, very fast there at Caulfield, and interesting how it goes in a straight line on Saturday.
Well, that's going to be the key, isn't it? That'll be the key for a number of those fillies as well. Let's head back to the Australian Cup for a moment as well. We heard from Lachie Neindorf a little bit earlier about Mark Twain. Let's now hear from Tommy Stokes.
Tommy Stokes, thanks for your time. Mark Twain heads to the Australian Cup at Flemington on Saturday. Second run for the stable. Gee, I imagine yourself and Phil must have been over the moon with his first run for you guys.
Yeah, we sort of kept it on the down low. Tim, his track work's been super leading into it. It's his first preparation with us, but we wanted to see him do it first, and he performed really well. Obviously, the form's been good with Birdman winning, and seems to be the right form too. So we assessed him quite in depth at the start of the prep and realised that his best runs have been fresh and space runs, so we made sure we got him very fit first up, and now it's just about maintenance work for him. So we had a tick over jump out a fortnight ago, and he's fresh, well, fit, and I think the step up in trip's going to do him the world of good. So we're quite confident in his chances.
Whereabouts in his sort of fitness percentage-wise do you think you could mark him ahead of Saturday?
Obviously hasn't had that run over the 10 furlongs yet, but he's right there. He'd be 90% fit now and ready to rock and roll.
Happy with the way he's been working leading into the Group 1 on Saturday?
He's been faultless, Tim. He's been very straightforward, actually. Very consistent in his track work, so that gives us plenty of confidence. He's a pleasure to do anything with. He does really well in the feed bins, so makes it easier for us.
He's an interesting horse, isn't he? Because he's been tested in some very good races over the course of his career. Obviously, you guys are still learning a bit about him, but an exciting proposition to get your hands on him at this stage of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when he was in form there and peaking, geez, he can really let down this horse. He loves Flemington, a long straight, is definitely beneficial to him. So, yeah, we're quietly confident going into Saturday. We're flying under the radar, we're aware of that, and we're aware that it's a quality field, but couldn't have him in any better order.
Yeah, what do you make of the field that is likely to be there? Pride of Jenni always makes races truly run. That adds another interesting element to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I want to say it helps us, but as we know, if she really strings the field along, it probably leaves us with too much to do. But yeah, it's a quality field, and I really believe he deserves his place in the lineup.
Welcome back to From the Trainers Tower. Well, very exciting. We get to see, exciting Kiwi filly Belle Cheval in Australia this weekend. And Ed Sadler caught up with Ben Gleeson.
Ben, Belle Cheval, it'll be good to see that well-written form on this side of the Tasman. Your filly's got some good credentials.
Yeah, it's very exciting, Ed. She heads to Sydney, arrives there tonight. We've got a staff member up there that'll look after her and ride her for the week, and Mark flies up Wednesday to see her final piece of work on Thursday morning. But yeah, really exciting. It shapes as a limited field in terms of size and maybe quality, but Waller's got, I hope he wins, who won the New Zealand Oaks impressively, and short price favourite. And the two New Zealand fillies have the best form arguably in the race. Waller's filly comes back from 2,400 to 2,000, and we're up from 1,500 to 2,000. So it'll be an interesting meeting in the middle. But look, our filly, having said that, nearly beat Well Written last start, and probably should have if she, straightened up a bit more. So that form's, hopefully top class, and she's bred to get 2,000. I'm not sure what the weather is, but it shouldn't phase her whether she's on firm or soft going. And yeah, it's exciting to have her here in Australia, and hopefully we can get that Group 1 back on the board for the season.
Is she an Oaks type of filly, or would 2,000 be her limit here?
No, this will be her one and only run. One, we want to see how she measures up in Australia, and try and get that. Even if it's a group placing her in Australia, it still adds great value to her. But if we get a Group 1 win and reward her, she's had a very long build-up, or preparation, I should say, in New Zealand. Having said that, with the slot race was a grand final, and this was sort of, provided she held together well, the second grand final. So we're asking her for two big efforts and a trip across the sea. So they can't fold at home. Her gallop was terrific on the weekend, and she'll deserve the paddock after this, I'd say.
And if she does measure up here in Australia, if she spells, could we see her here in Victoria for the spring? Yeah,
plan is between Mark and the owner, they've discussed keeping her here for a spell, close by to Cranbourne, so we can keep a watchful eye on her. And she got a good spell till sort of the back end of May, and then build her up in the winter here for hopefully a spring campaign in her 4-year-old season.
Gee, she's exciting. That run at Ellerslie was fantastic. And, well, like all Kiwis, if she comes and wins in Australia in a Group 1, we'll claim her.
Absolutely. Real Sam Neill areas, Russell Crowe.
Yeah,
unless she throws a telephone at someone later, then they can have her back.
Absolutely.
But nearly beat Well Written. Arguably, some people, there was a protest and thrown in, and some people who backed Belle Cheval, I'm sure, would have thought she could have got past. So it's an exciting form line to see tested here.
But when you think about it, you can never give up on racing. We've got Well Written going around, Autumn Glow, she's an alibi. Just when you think we've seen the best of them...
you lose Via Sistina, everyone panics.
You just never know what's around the corner.
No, you don't. We heard from Grahame Begg a little bit earlier on his 2-year-old in the Thoroughbred Breeders, but he's got a big team going around the country on Saturday. Let's hear from him once again.
The Kuma, a horse who's been in form, also run Saturday?
Yeah, that's correct. He's in the benchmark 84 over 2,000 metres. He's trained on beautifully, so he's going very, very well. So it'd be nice to see him run at Flemington on the big stretches because he likes to, relax in his races, and he's got a good finish.
Does he need a bit of magic? Have you got a wizard from the West book for the ride?
Well, apparently so. William Pike's taking the ride at 54 kg, so a little bit light for Geordie. So he'll get back on down the track. But, yeah, happy to have him on. He's ridden for me before and ridden a winner. So, yeah, so I'm sure it'll be a good ride for him.
And de Bergerac runs in Sydney?
That's correct. He goes to the Star Kingdom Stakes. Rachel King rides him. He ran very well in the Newmarket, and he drew one of the outside gates, and they all crossed back over to the inside, and wasn't run at a great tempo. So he finished it off really nicely, and think that it'll be a good chance if they get a sort of really reasonable surface up there.
What does the rest of your team look like for Sydney now that the Melbourne part of the carnival's coming towards its end?
Yeah, well, she's a hustler's up there. She went up on Friday, so she has a trial at Randwick this coming Friday, and then she gets ready to run in the Queen of the Turf on the 11th. That'll be her kick-off point, and then she goes on to Queensland to run in the Hollandale and Doomben Cup and the Q22, all being well.
Any other horses from your team heading up north?
Well, obviously de Bergerac's there, Splashback. I'm going to make a decision this week whether she stays here or goes up to Sydney. Possibly she could go to Adelaide, but she's had 2 nice jump outs now and she's coming along really, really well. We've earmarked the Queensland Carnival for her, so there's a nice race on the 11th up there, a Group 2 mares race, 1,200 to kick off in, and then she can head up to Queensland. But if she stays here, she'll possibly go to the Sangster.
And what's next for Magic Time?
Yeah, she'll go to Sydney as well. So we'll just see if they get the rain. She needs that bit of cut in the ground. Got a bit firm there Saturday late in the day. She just sort of really felt that a little bit, I thought, the last part of the race. But she'll either run in the TJ or the all-age.
And on Saturday we had a great achievement. James McDonald at 131 Group 1 winners. You've been involved in the game for a long time. What did you make of what he's been able to do, Grahame?
Oh, outstanding. Obviously he's got on some very good horses, but to be able to achieve that in such a quick time, it's certainly feather in his cap, but he's a great jockey and, at this stage, he's at the peak of his powers.
The very astute Grahame Begg, who has horses all over Australia there on the weekend. And it just shows you too, having a listen to the trainers and also the variety of racehorses that are going around over the weekend. We talk about the famous races through the spring, but when you're combining our great races here in Melbourne, like the Australian Cup coming up, and also Sydney, autumn is the best time for racing because we have such deep programs, and I think there's 5 black type races on Saturday. So looking forward to it. And in real time, we could be set up for a classic Australian Cup with Pride of Jenni 6 lengths in front round the turn, and who knows?
Who's your tip?
Look, I've been a Birdman fan all the way, and I think the way the race sets up is going to certainly help. But even a horse like a Puglia at a price, I wouldn't mind. But I'm still not against the mare either. I think Pride of Jenni was really terrific in the All-Star Mile. Nothing. That's the race. You're
Nothing
a Tom Kitten man.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think I am. How'd you like your first day? You only got about 5 seconds. Get it quick.
Absolutely loved it.
Oh, just great to have you. You should probably just do it yourself next time. You're fantastic.
I'll come back next week.
Enjoy the punt over the weekend. Good luck. We'll catch you next week.